Hi everyone, welcome to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz and I am back with another tote bag slipcover. This was a lot of fun to make and super fast and easy. I had this work in progress sitting here. It was originally supposed to be a blanket and I realized that I would use it more often and get a project finished if I just decided to change it into a tote bag slipcover. I went ahead and put the original tote bag and slipcover underneath just so I can do some quick measurements to make sure that I have plenty of squares already, and I do. And it looks like I'm going to have to do some surgery here and remove this panel, and that will work out well because then I can use it to attach to the sides to make the side panels. If you're interested in this pattern in the Sunburst granny square, I do have a detailed video on how to do it step by step. I'll be sure to add that in the description box below as well as at the end of the video. Okay, great. So I went ahead and removed the excess rows from the blanket that I was previously making with these squares, and I went ahead and darned in all the tails, and we're ready to go. I was left with the discs, and I removed the excess rounds, the final round, and I'm going to put them back on as I join as I go the sides. So the plan here is I have four squares here for the front and 4 squares for the back, and then I have 1 row of squares here that will be the base. I'm going to join as I go, and I will record that as I do it. And I think I'm going to start here at the base and join and then move my way up. So let's go ahead and get a little bit closer and get started on that. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and start joining my sides to the bag here, and I've picked out a disc that I think will work well with the colors that are already here. I'm going to use a sage green to join. I'm doing the join as you go method, and I do have a video. If you aren't familiar with joining as you go, I have a detailed video. I might go a little quickly here. I will leave that in the description box below as well as at the end of the video. So for this, it's a bit unique. The joining is a bit different here. I'm going to have to join to 3 sides: the front of the bag, the back of the bag, and the base. I'm starting at the bottom and I'm going to work my way up. So I'm actually going to begin in the middle of the square here. So the middle for this pattern will be 3 half double crochets. Then it will be 2 doubles, and then we'll join. So fasten on however you like best. I just did a loose tie on here, and I'm going to chain 2. That's going to serve as my first half double crochet. And now I will do 2 more to complete my first cluster here. Next will be 2 doubles, 2 double crochets, 3 doubles sorry. And now we're getting ready to work on the corner. So I'm going to do the first half of the corner. These are treble crochets. Okay, so I have my first side done for my corner. I use 3 chains for the corner chain spaces. I'm chaining 1, and I'm getting ready to join here. This is my main focus. This is where I want to line up, but I am going to actually join into the square to the right, because when I join the next panel here, I'm going to crisscross and join. Now at this point you can definitely go ahead and slip stitch in there as well if you feel that that's a tighter join. I'm not too concerned about that, but certainly that's a good option. Now I'm going to continue on with my trebles. So now I do 3 trebles. I am using US terms, but I'll put the UK terms in the description box below, just in case you prefer that. Okay, and now it's time to continue joining. I join into the space that corresponds with that treble, crochet cluster, and now it's time to do doubles. And I'm going to continue on with this join as you go, and I will meet you here at the corner. Okay, I'm at my corner here, and I have 2 corners that I need to join into. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, at this time, go ahead and slip stitch into both corners, since I can't do the crisscross method here. So 1 and 2, and I will do the chain 3 to give me my 3. And now I continue on with the other half of my corner here with the trebles. Okay, now it's time to start joining to the base. This is going to be the bottom portion of the bag, and once we get all joined here, it'll make a lot more sense. And then it's doubles, and we just continue on here. Let me just do these doubles, and then I'll show you what we have so far. Okay, to get a better idea of what's happening here, we've just completed one side. We are on the base here, we're connecting to the base, and then we're going to connect to the other side. At my next corner, so I'm just getting ready to slip stitch into both corners here. With another chain. And finishing that side. Okay, so I've worked the other side, and I'm coming up to one of my corners, and we're back to the side portion here, or the back panel of the bag, or front panel, depending on how you look at it. But my point here is that I've come back to some more corners here, but because I'm not working these double corners here, I'm just going to go into the opposite corner here, and then when I attach this side, I'll crisscross. Like so. And then continue on 3 times. And here we're at the end here. This is the place that we started with our 3 half doubles, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top chain and fasten off. Okay, so that is the first square attached to the base here. I really wanted to show you this the most because this is the more challenging bit, and it's only challenging because you need to remember to start here in the middle to make sure that you attach all of your corners. And now I'm going to just continue on up. I have 3 more to go, and I will just do the same thing. Just start in the middle and work around. Okay, wonderful. So we are done with the sides, and that worked out really well. Here is the side panel attached to the base. the front and the back on both sides. And I'm really pleased with it. It was a lot of fun, very quick and easy to do. And now it's time to work on the border here on the top. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same technique that I used on the gingham style slipcover. I'll add a link to that in the card here. And it was a chain 2 with single crochets all the way along. And then I think I'm going to do the granny square, just a row of granny clusters to kind of tie in with this theme here. So let's go ahead and get going on that. I'm ready to put the border on, so I'm going to start here on the side of the bag, and I'm going to do a single crochet on the front or the behind this stitch here, as well as in the front, and then pull it together here, and that will give a nice tight join. There we go. And then I'm going to do another one. Great. And now we're off and running. And as you can see, I've chosen pink for my border here. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now you can choose 3. I mean, 3 is logical because most of these are 3 chains up above here, 3 stitches. But because there's so much stretch with this particular yarn that I'm using, I like to just stick with 2. But you may find with the yarn you choose, if you decide to do this project, 3 may be better. Just play around with it and see what looks best. The reason I like this also is because it makes the stitch here, this chain 2, sit close and snug to the bottom row here. 2, 2, and I'm going to do this all the way around. Okay, when I come up to a place like this, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm not going to go into this space. I'm going to skip over it and just do another single crochet. For me, I like that. I feel like that pulls it together nicely. And that is it. That's all I'm going to do all the way around. So I'm going to pause here and see you on the other side. I've reached the end of this round and I've done my final chain 2. It's time to slip stitch into the beginning here, and you can choose to go, I'm going to go straight over to this other one because it will make it very tight. I'm going to go right in there to get a really secure join. You can actually stop here now. You could be finished with your bag if you wanted to. This is a nice border for your bag, but I thought I would have fun with this and just do some granny clusters along in these chain 2 spaces, mainly because that's what I wanted to do if I had made this into a blanket. I wanted to do a few rows of the box stitch, I believe it's called. So I'm going to fasten on somewhere a little bit obscure. I don't want the chain 3 start to be very eye-catching. So I think I'm going to start here on the side, and I'm just going to fasten onto the chain space here and do a chain of 3 to serve as my first double crochet, and then 2 more double crochets here to complete my first cluster. I'm not going to put chain spaces in between these. I like this to be as tight as possible, so I'm going straight into the next chain space here, or 2 chain space, to make my next cluster. And I'm just going to do this all the way around. I've reached one of these areas that has 2 single crochets together. I'm not going to go into that little space there. I'm skipping right over that and just focusing on the chain 2 spaces. right, so the border is done, and now what I'm going to do is fasten off and then just repeat this row of the chain 2 with a single crochet just to give that final border, and we're going to call it good. In this row we don't have any of the double areas that we need to pull together tightly. We're just going to do single crochets all the way around with our chain 2. Just add a slip knot. This is going to serve as my first single crochet. I don't like to start where I finished. I like to find somewhere else just to mix it up a little bit so there's not a big area that has a bunch of ends or clumps. Okay, and that's going to serve as my first single crochet, chain 2, and go all the way around. 1. All right, so there we have it. We are finished with the border, and now it's time to start putting on the buttons to make this into an official slipcover. Okay, so to make sure that I get the buttons in the right place, I've gone ahead and put the tote bag inside the slipcover, and I'm making sure that the seam on the sides of the tote bag are aligned with the side panel, the middle of the side panel, and then we should be good to go. And I just have some simple white buttons that I'm going to place, and it looks like they'll be going in these 2 squares here, I think. Looks about right, yep. Well, of course I was darning in the buttons and thought I had record going, but I didn't. So I'm going to explain what I did here, and I apologize for that. I went ahead and just picked a space on both sides that I thought would be a good place to join where the straps are here. And for this pattern, it was right here in this cluster. I made sure just to go into both of these rows here to get into a nice deep cluster to make sure that it had a really good hold. And I did this twice. And then I just knotted it in the back, and I'm going to darn in those tails. To make the little attachment here, I'm going to do a chain of 12. This varies per bag. I think I did something a bit longer for the previous gingham bag. I can't quite remember, I'll have to look. But for this one, as I was measuring and wrapping around, I need about 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On the 12th, I'm going to make that 12th one my attachment, my loop. And it doesn't have to be very big. I've done a couple already, so I know already that this will fit around this because it stretches. So I don't want it very big. I don't want it the exact size of the button because it'll be too big actually. But this will take some trial and error. I'm just showing how mine worked, but yours may work out a bit differently. When you do your chain of 12, be sure, or whatever chain you decide, be sure you do a long tail because this is what you're going to use to darn in and attach to your bag. And also for the tail here for your loop, you're going to do another long tail as well because you're going to use that to tighten and make a knot here to make sure that that stays secure and this doesn't grow on you. Once you have your loop to the size that you want it to be, then you just go ahead and make a knot. You just go into the sides, try to get into the meat of this yarn here. Trying to do this without messing up my loop. And then I'm going to do a little knot here. And at this point you can kind of play with this loop here and see if it opens up on you. But that's all you do. And then you just weave in the rest of your tail down the chain to give it some extra strength here. I'm going to take this longer one that I started my chains with, and now I'm going to attach it to the front of the bag, but right behind the button, as securely as possible. To it, once you've attached to the back, you can then test it and just slip it on. And you're good to go. You may want to play with this and maybe shorten your chains if you feel like this is a bit too long. Again, it's trial and error, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. Also, another tip here, if you find that a lot of the weight is here in the center and is drooping on the sides, you can always get some snaps and attach a snap to your bag and then onto your piece. I found these teeny ones in a bag that I didn't even know I had, and so I'm thinking about doing that here, but I just wanted to show you this as is because it really doesn't bother me. I haven't had any issues with that really, or it hasn't made me unhappy, let's say that, when it kind of hangs a little bit. Because it's a slip cover, I kind of like the idea of it showing a little bit. Anyway, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and this tutorial. If I moved over something too quickly, don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Be sure to check out at the end of the video, I've got some links to the original bag and also a link to the pattern on how to do this Sunburst granny square and the joint as you go. Otherwise, I really appreciate you playing hooky with me and hope to see you again next time. Bye.